My name is Geoff Gallegos. I'm a composer, conductor, saxophonist. I live in Los Angeles. And I'm sitting in the green chair today to talk about music and how the goddess of music saved my life, or I guess how the music. I think that when I first started playing, it wasn't, I just wanted to play because I thought it was cool. I was an athlete as a youngster, and I still wear football jerseys, but I don't play anymore. But I got into music because I heard the saxophone. I just heard band, and it sounded fun. And so in 5th grade, I was fortunate to go to public school in a time where public school had music programs, where instrumental music, where you could just go to the band class and sign up, and the school had instruments, and you could just use one of the school instruments, and it was free. But when I signed up for saxophone class, they didn't have any saxophones left, so my dad rented a sax for me, and I took to it pretty quickly. I felt comfortable with the saxophone in my hands. I just played. I was having fun playing it, and I would look at the book they had us doing in the beginning band class. And then in about a month, I went from the cover to cover and just figuring it out. And my music teacher was like, "You already finished the book?" Because, for the class, they were doing one page at a time. And I would take the book home and I just figured it out. And so they moved me into the advanced class. They're like, "Here, do this." At the same time, I was also in this gifted talent program for kids that nowadays would probably be considered ADD. At that point in time, fortunately for me, they didn't have ADD, so they didn't put me on any medication. But they kind of put me in a classroom where, because I was getting bored and disruptive in class, they put me in a class with kids that we could do independent study. And at that time, I was getting into music, and I started. My project for independent study was I want to design an instrument that makes every sound of the orchestra. And this is before the Kurzweil keyboard came out. So obviously now that is the instrument that makes every sound in the orchestra, which is a piano that plays every sound. But I made a model and a schematic and just learned about orchestration. That was the very first time I'd ever been to a symphony concert. It was when I was 10 years old. The gifted talented teacher got me in on a field trip with another school. They bussed in a bunch of kids to Symphony Hall, and we watched the orchestra play. And I remember that day, because I remember the tuba player picked up what I thought was a garbage can and then put it in his tuba, and it was mute, But I was like, "What's the dude doing with the garbage can next to his tuba?" And then he stuck it in his tuba. I was like, "Okay, that's interesting." And I don't remember what piece they were playing, but I remember just being in the audience going, "Okay, this is my first live music I've ever seen," with the exception of seeing somebody play guitar and singing. And so to really see a full ensemble like that was pretty awesome. And I don't know, I was always into band. I guess because I played football, I didn't fall into too much of the band geek teasing. Of course, I got that a little bit, but I had enough friends that were jocks that they didn't ever beat me down for being in band. And then let's see. So I started in 5th grade, and then when I was going into 7th grade, my parents split up. My dad left, and I had a younger brother and a younger sister. My mom, who was already working at the time, picked up double shifts, and I quit shop class and went to home ec, learned how to cook so I could feed my family, feed my brother and sister while my mom was working. And I was feeling definitely how did I end up with this responsibility at 12 years old? My sister was a year old, my brother was 8, and I was 11, 12, and feeling very confused by everything. And at that point in time, music became very important to me as a way to channel those emotions that were coming up. That because I was a bigger kid, I was constantly getting teased and picked on and in trouble as a result. There's one situation that happened when I was 15, and I got in a relatively serious fight, and was sitting at home on suspension, and facing possible charges for assault, and just having really to think, like, what am I doing? Like, are these guys going to let me back in school? And what's going to be, why do I want to keep going to school? And the band class was kind of what kept me going to school at that point in time. And so kept going to band class. And then the next year, we got a new music teacher who was from Louisiana, trumpet player, it was his first teaching job. He was only like 23 years old, and I was 16. And so it felt more like an older brother coming in to teach music. And he was such a cool guy, like, there's nothing like a New Orleans trumpet player to learn music from. That's like the bloodline of jazz. You think of like King Oliver and Louis Armstrong and these trumpet players that came from Louisiana that really shaped what jazz is now. And so his name's Orlando Otis, and he was a very powerful influence in my life. Because he presented music in a way that was fun, and music was always about us really trying to make the music sound good, and then you have to show up to rehearsal, you have to be on time, you have to learn your part, and you just have to be reliable. And to have a teacher like that say, okay, well, we're going to frame music as an accountability thing for a life. It's like a life lesson. Of course, I didn't realize what it was at age 16, but accountability and punctuality and these kind of values that music became. And also the friendship that I got with him. There was another time, my senior year, where I was having, more like emotional angst, still, like basically doing the work of a dad at age 17, and the rage that was building up and not really knowing how to deal with those emotions sometimes acted out in violence. And I went after this kid one day. I grabbed the metal part of a Manhasset music stand and yanked it out, and I charged this kid on the schoolyard with a metal pipe, with the full intention of integrating that pipe into his anatomy. And my music teacher, who was an athlete, he was a baseball player, and he saw that, and because he could run a lot faster than me, like he was like, and caught up to me. He saw what was happening. He heard all the other music students going, screaming and shouting, and so he ran after me. And fortunately, before I got to this other kid, he got between me and the kid, and he was asking me, he's like, because I just won a music scholarship to study at Berklee College of Music in Boston, which was my dream at that time. I wanted to go to Berklee. I wanted to learn audio engineering, and he stopped me. He's like, are you willing to give up that opportunity for this kid who, if you do what you're about to do, you're going to go to jail? Like assault with a deadly weapon and battery. It's like definitely not a good situation. You're going to be hanging out in jail for a little while. And he had a way of communicating this to me, and I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm having way much more fun playing music. Music in and of itself is a non-violent thing. You can't have violence and listen at the same time. Because I think that's the best thing about music, is it teaches you how to listen and have confidence to speak too. Like, you have to have confidence to play your part because you know what you're going to play. That's where the preparation and knowing what you're going to say and believing in it. And then also knowing how to fit that in with everything that's going around you. Because if I was just to go up there and start playing, and I'm in the wrong key, or I'm out of tune, I'm wrong tempo, that's not music, And so he was very poignant and kept me interested in music long enough for the power of the music itself, which is kind of like a campfire for a community. The music in and of itself is bigger than any one musician. Like musicians are just a conduit for the energy. We're like a lightning rod. We try and tap into it, and then the goddess blesses. And so, fortunately, yeah, I feel the relationship with her a lot, man. Um, and always trying to remember that's where the music comes from. You know, it's bigger than any one of us. It's not even like and no matter what your spiritual path is, it's like music is part of that. It's part of a greater force. And I'm feeling a little emotional talking about it. Um, it's I guess what I would pray is that anybody watching this can find their way to connect. Um, in whatever way, you know, it's like my way is music, but there's all kinds of creativity available in the world for us. And yeah, I think that the more opportunities that young people have to be around music, and this at-risk youth, I think a lot less people would be at risk if they were given a creative outlet. And so I'm feeling very grateful right now because I've seen one of my dreams come true in having a hip hop orchestra and having a community of musicians in LA that are my friends and that people I respect, where we challenge each other. It says there's a verse that you know, I'm not really a religious person. I read a verse out of the Bible that was really good. It said that as iron sharpens iron, so does one sharpen another. And that's like how music is. As you know, community of musicians is like we're constantly challenging each other to get better in a non-violent way, and tap into that part of ourselves that's like, okay, what is the most light I can shine on the world in my little corner, you know? I wasn't expecting to cry talking about this. But I hope that you watching, you can feel the sincerity, that it's coming from a place where I see many schools in LA without music programs. And the challenge of what it is to be a young person in LA, and to have those options available to young people. It's like, yes, you can just go to the band room. If you're having trouble in English class, you don't have to drop out of school. You can just go to the band room and learn your communication that way. Find your community, find your team, find your tribe, you know. Oh man, the green chair. I guess a lot of people have left their soul, a piece of their soul in the chair, man, because I guess I feel like being very honest sitting in the chair. I guess that other people you've had have been honest as well, right? So I hope that I'm not making anybody feel uncomfortable seeing this big, like, thuggy looking dude crying on the green chair. But I hope that you can feel that it's coming from a place of feeling very passionate about music and wanting the young people to feel what I feel and experience what I've been able to experience with music as the center. And that understanding that those people who would want to cut the budget for arts and education can think of me holding a shotgun instead of a saxophone. And if I wasn't holding a saxophone, my hands would be empty. And we all know what happens with idle hands. So think of it as a self-preservation tool for those who wish to be selfish with money and take money away from schools and put it into their pockets. That your pockets will be emptied by those of us who have idle hands anyway. So you should just give us the money to go to band class, so we don't have to take it later. And obviously, I could keep talking about this for a long time. And I'm one of many musicians in LA that I'm sure feel this way about music. That without it, I would have no friends. My friends would be different. I would have a different life. I probably would not be. I mean, music is no easy endeavor, and that vision can tax your ass sometimes, you know. But I'm happy that I chose to do this path. As much effort as it requires and as much sacrifice as it has required to now from me personally. And I know that if there's a musician watching this, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, because even the very successful musicians don't get it just handed to them. Like there's a price, no matter what it is. In my case, it's been 25 years of honing it and just like polishing. So at some point, I remain optimistic that the effort will pay in, you know, a financial way, as well as the community and blessings I've already received. But I never got into music for money. Like I didn't start playing thinking, oh, I can do this and make rent. It's like, no, I started playing because it was fun. And I guess that's, as my career, I'm 42 now, and as my career's gone from my first gig when I was 15 to now at 42, it's like what's kept me returning to music and is the fun and my friends. And I guess I can also hope that anybody watching will see whatever you do in your life that involves fun and friends and hold that as sacred. And I think that's about all the green chair can pull out of me at the moment.